Hey guys, I didn't have time to turn the camera on while I started getting involved here with this thing. We were busy. Um, Wish I had now because it was a good ride. Anyway, a little history on it. It's a 2007 Dodge Caliber with a 2-liter. It's an SXT model. Vehicle was towed to us from another shop. I believe that said it had a communication issue. The vehicle does not run. Okay, so when we got it, we found it has a no crank, no start condition, and that was pretty much it. Okay, off the trailer. So we get it in the shop. First thing we do with this thing is try to communicate with it through our scan tool. We were using an Autel. Um, we went into generic first, and we were able to get codes out of the PCM. I'm sorry, we were able to communicate with the PCM in generic. It showed no codes. Attempted to start the vehicle. The check engine light on the dash was on, steady, with the key on, and a no crank condition. Okay, so the next step was we did an auto scan on the vehicle, which is in manufacturer, and through the scan tool will allow you to go into any active modules and communicate with them and check for codes through all of them. So that's what we did, and what we came up with was a number of codes for all types of things, which I'm going to show you in the video here in a minute. Um, we had communication issues with the PCM. The PCM was not active in manufacturer specific. Okay, so let me show you here the codes. Okay, so first off, the TIPM, or the Totally Integrated Power Module, which is actually a fuse relay block that's located under the hood on the left side of the engine compartment. This module had a U0100, which was lost communication with ECM. Okay, that was the one code. Now moving on, we have invalid key and lost communication with IPM. That was in the ABS module, if I remember correctly. The next code was 1421, which is an audio. That I'm not paying any mind to at all. That's a problem in the radio or CD player. So that's not anything to worry about. This one, U1415, implausible missing vehicle configuration data. This was in the airbag module. Okay. And finally, we have a C2202, original VIN mismatch missing, U140E, implausible vehicle configuration data. Okay, so now that we have these codes, we cleared them, and they came back immediately. All right, as soon as we cleared them. This is a tough problem, okay, because there's a lot of places to look here. There's a lot of things that are possible here. You could have a module in this data line, in this data system, that's pulling down voltage or pulling another module down. You could have a module that won't wake up. You could have a sensor that's even shorted, that's bringing the data line down or whatever. I mean, there's so many different variables. A data line that could be corroded, shorted, loss of power to a module, ground. This is a nightmare when it comes in the shop, because you really don't have a whole lot of direction here, because you don't know, even though you're pulling these codes out of certain modules and it's telling you, PCM, or it's telling you whatever, you don't know which module really to go to start with. So the first thing I wanted to do with this thing was to pull a chart or a diagram on the data lines. I'm going to show that to you in a moment. Alright, so here is our computer data line circuit. This box here that you're looking at is the Totally Integrated Power Module, or the TIPM for short. All these bus lines or data lines run through this TIPM. Alright, you can see here, this one that's highlighted is going to our data link connector, which is where you would hook up our scanner. This one here is also to the data link connector. Okay, so those are our two CAN lines at the data link connector. we could start by checking these lines here, okay, but I felt that it wasn't really going to be a lot of help, or, well, I really didn't think that was the place to start on this, but I'm going to move on here. I wanted you guys to just get an understanding of how these systems work and how how everything is integrated. Take this line, for instance, here, okay, can be, this is running to here, occupant classification module, running to the satellite receiver, running to the traffic information receiver, radio amplifier, occupant restraint module, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are all integrated. They're all talking to each other. Here's your all-wheel drive controller, transmission controller, PCM, anti-lock. Okay, so now these data lines, if you're understanding what I was saying before, these data lines are all integrated. Okay, and any one of these being broken or corroded or shorted, any one of these modules could cause a serious problem. Okay? They could be our whole problem, as a matter of fact. Trying to get this glare off the screen for you guys. Again, I wanted you to understand what I was saying here, that before we go any further. Now, when you look at this diagram, you got to think to yourself: these modules are all over this vehicle. This wiring harness is all through this vehicle. This problem could be anywhere in this vehicle on one of these data lines, potentially. If that's the case, how do you find it? How do you track it down? Where do you start here? This could be a very intimidating situation to be in. All right. So, our first move So where do we start, right? Well, that really depends, I guess it really depends on the person doing the repairs or the diagnosis. There's a lot of different places we could start here. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the approach that we took when we diagnosed this truck and how we went about it. I'm not saying that it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong. We did fix it, so I guess it wasn't all wrong, but I'm just going to show you the approach we took, okay? Like I said, I could have taken my scope and I could have gone to these data lines here on our DLC connector, and I could have scoped them and found a known good waveform and started there. But I kind of didn't bother because I knew I had no communication with this PCM. I could not plug into this thing and go into manufacturer data with it. So, I knew that line wasn't going to be there, or it wasn't going to be right, so why bother wasting my time with that, right? I decided instead to go in a different direction, which I'm going to show you. Alright, so here's the approach we took with this vehicle. I went to a wiring diagram for the engine performance circuit, okay? As you can see up here, there's 5 pages of wiring diagrams for this particular make, model, and year. Alright. This is page 1 of 5, and here we are at the totally integrated power module again. Alright, so concentrating on this line first here, fuse 18, 40 amp under the hood. Okay, I'm highlighting it so you can see what's going on. The wire is red and yellow. Here's a splice point here, right? It branches off and it goes it goes in here to B9, which is our input to the relay, and it also goes to the positive side of the coil for the relay. This brown and light green wire here goes back 19. If we follow it, goes back to our powertrain control module. Alright, so this is our control for the relay. It's going to send the ground to the relay, to this line, and it's going to pull this closed, this switch, and send power out of the brown and white. Okay, so what we did first was we put a test light in our brown and white wire. I had somebody turn the ignition on, and nothing. This didn't light. So now, obviously, we have an issue. I didn't even hear the relay click. So that's where we're going to start. All right. We know that this isn't powering up, so we're on to something here. This is something to chase, and we know we're not wasting time. Now, what I noticed was that when I found this relay, which is under the fender on the driver's side, you have to take the splash shield out of the way, and you can see it sort of towards the front. This relay, following these wiring colors here, okay, are incorrect on the diagram. This red and yellow wire comes out, and it's about, I would say, a 12 gauge wire. Going into here, same thing, it's a 12 gauge wire. Now, these two colors here, I believe were correct, the brown and light green and the brown and white. I think they were correct. However, this one here, the coil side, was not. It was red. It was red and light blue. Now, just wanted to tell you guys that in case you run into it. Okay, that is the right relay. I don't know if that's on all of them. I don't know if the diagram is wrong or, you know, whatever. But that was the case for us. These wires here are 16 gauge or 18 gauge, and this wire had no power in it. All right. So we had power here. We had nothing here. Like I said, this is a splice point. So what I did was I opened the harness up in the truck, which I'm gonna put a picture in and show you guys, you know, in a still photo that I have of the damage. The wire was once repaired, not by us, but it was repaired at some point or another. This vehicle was never to us before, so I had nothing to go on. I had no history or anything. When I found it up inside the wire loom, I could see the repair was done, and the wire rotted out and broke. So we had lost the power to our coil side of the power to the coil side of the relay. Okay, so we made the repair, and I was pretty happy to find that. I figured, you know, this is great news. Everything's going to be well again with this vehicle once I fix this wire. I repaired it. I went back to my scan tool and retrieved codes again. I went through the auto scan feature on the Autel, and lo and behold, I have communication with the PCM, and I have no codes in any of the modules. This was great news. So I tried to start the vehicle. Well, that's where things went bad again. The truck still wouldn't crank. So at that point, we had to go into a different. We decided to go into it as a no start, you know, a typical no start, because we know that this problem here that we had with all these crazy codes and things, you know, no communication, this was resolved. So we called this a fix, and we moved on. Okay, so now at this point we got rid of all this, and we moved on to a different diagram. We went to our starting circuit. Let's make that a little bigger so we could see. Here's our starting circuit on our problem vehicle. Here's your main battery feed to your starter. We checked this with a test light. We know it's good. I wasn't exactly expecting to find the problem there, but never overlook the obvious. I've said it before. So here's our power feed. We're good. Okay. We then went to the other side of the starter, and we're going to check our start circuit. This is our S wire, as they call it. This is the wire that actually kicks the solenoid in on the starter and pulls this line to the starter motor itself to engage it. Alright? So, following this back, yellow and gray, yellow and gray. This wire was stripped back, we found somewhere along the line. So I'm assuming from the looks of things, that somebody had tried to jump this to get it to start, and when it wouldn't start, they gave up and they had sent it down to us or whatever. So it was never going to start without communication and with the PCM issue it had, the ASD relay. So looking at this, I decided, well, it's stripped back. I know I have communication. I turned the key on in the vehicle into the run position, and using a power probe, I jumped the yellow wire here with my power probe, put 12 volts to it. The car cranked and started and ran fine. So I was happy to see that. I knew that the vehicle was capable of running. Now I just had to figure out why it wouldn't crank. So if you look, this yellow wire, starter control output, look what we got here. Totally integrated power module. Once again, we're back at that thing, right? Alright, now, battery, there's your battery voltage to it. That's your main supply from the battery, and the only other lead there is the battery voltage, battery lead down to the starter. So, after that, you only have these two wires, right? That's it. That's your inputs. These are CAN lines, communication lines. So this thing works off of data. It receives a message through data to tell the TIPM that this vehicle wants to start. The TIPM sends 12 volts out of this yellow and gray wire and down to our starter, and the vehicle starts. Interesting approach. Good job, Dodge. Anyway, let's work backwards here. Those data lines go to our remote keyless entry WCM Sentry module under the steering column. Great. So, what do we do here? We're going to go back to our scan tool, okay, because we have no way really to check accurately these bus lines, okay? So we're going to use our scan tool. We're going to go into this WCM module, and we're going to read data. When I did that, I cranked the engine, looking at the PID for the ignition switch sense, and I saw start. Anytime I'd crank it, start came up on the screen. It's showing me that this thing does see this key is turning into the start crank mode. All right, so that was good news. We moved on, and we went into data stream. We did basically the same thing. We went into data stream on the integrated module, and we went to the same PID. We went for the ignition PID, ignition switch PID, cranked it, and we saw start. So that's telling us that this totally integrated power control module sees everything it needs to start this vehicle, but is completely incapable of doing so. The internal parts of this starter control circuit failed on the module. How that happened, why that happened, I don't know. These TIPMs are typically a problem. They do go bad quite often on these calibers, as I've seen, for many different things. Now, what exactly happened, I don't know. I wasn't about to take it apart because it had to go back as a core. So if the circuit board was damaged, or there may be a relay that's integrated inside the board on this thing for this output. I don't know 100%. I couldn't really. I tried to find out from some other sources, but I couldn't seem to get anything solid on it. So I believe there's a relay on the board. I'm going to go with that. Whatever. Maybe the relay failed. In any case, you can't change it. You have to change this whole module. All right. It's quite expensive, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted to find here, because I mean, finding the broken wire for the ASD relay and all those crazy codes and everything, I was hoping that this vehicle was just going to roll in, start up and roll out of my shop. And when that didn't happen, I really wasn't too happy to have to tell the customer that he had two completely separate issues going on here. But that was the case. Okay, so that's how we came to the determination here of a broken wire first, and then a bad integrated power module. This kind of problem could be, like I said in the beginning, a nightmare to figure out. It didn't have one issue; it had two. And I don't know, I don't know how either one of them occurred. I mean, like I said, the wire was repaired once. You know, so the repairs seem to be pretty good. I know it's in a bad location. They put that, not this module, but they put that relay block under the, they put that relay block under the fender. It's a terrible location. It could get hit with all kinds of salt and, you know, snow and whatever, water, and rot everything out. So it's really a bad idea to have it there. But that's Dodge's design. So that's, you know, we're here to just fix it, of course. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you guys. I'm going to show you some pictures with I'm going to, you know, I'll write in there the highlights of what exactly it was that I'm showing you. And, you know, like I said, I just wanted to show you an approach, how to approach something. Again, there's different ways to approach it, of course, I know that. But this was ours. This is how we did it. We fixed it. And I guess what I'm trying to say, the point that I'm trying to make, is to take it one step at a time when you have problems like this, or any problem really. Evaluate it, verify it, and take your time. Really think about what you're looking at here, what the circuit is that you're working on, what the problem is, what the cause can be, where, you know, what the potential problem, or where the potential problem might be. This thing could have been, I mean, parts and stuff could have been changed on this vehicle for, you know, forget it, and you know, it would have never started. So, you know, I hope this helps you guys out a little bit. You know, I hope it helps somebody out. Again, I like to share these adventures with you, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments box, guys, and see you guys down the shop.